Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Starring Clark Gregg, Ming-Na Wen, Chloe Bennett, Elizabeth Henstridge, Henry Simmons, Natalia Cordova-Buckley, Jeff Ward.
So we only have 8 episodes left of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ever. When this season of S.H.I.E.L.D's over, that is kind of the final, I guess, moment for Marvel Television, or for the original thing in Marvel Television. I know that Hellstrom still is scheduled to come out in October, but whether that'll go on for long or not remains to be seen, and how different that'll be from anything else remains to be seen. But in terms of like the Defenders series, Agent Carter, Inhumans, Runaways, and Cloak and Dagger, you know, the original big Marvel TV shows, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is kind of the last one to be around, so we're almost done with that chapter of Marvel in general. But I thought it would be fun to kind of do a video talking about what I want to see in the show's final 8 episodes, because now that we are this deep into the season, we can kind of set our expectations. Like, I know, like, that me especially, there was a lot of things I really wanted to see going into the season, and a lot of those things we haven't gotten to see. But I'm kind of thinking that maybe my expectations were set too high. Like, I really want to see a bunch of characters return. I want to see old sets used. I want to see Agent Carter, like, a lot. Knowing that Susan was coming up, I thought it was a no-brainer we'd see Carter. But after 6 episodes, and after hearing things from various members of the show and people who would have been on the show, such as Brett Dalton, who plays Grant Ward, and Haley Atwell, who plays Agent Carter, both have said that they were not asked to come back to the show, or they just aren't in the final season of the show. So after hearing lots of information like that, we know kind of the bar that the show could reach for the final 8 episodes. So it's kind of fun to kind of reevaluate and think about what we might see and what's likely to see, and maybe a couple things that probably aren't likely but I'd still love to see. But so the biggest thing I want to see in the show's final 8 episodes is something important for Fitz, because, you know, it's 6 episodes gone, we're almost halfway through the season, and we still haven't seen him show up at all yet. We've just gotten a couple references. The most recent episode, which was Season 7, Episode 6, called Adapt or Die, kind of gave us some information on where Fitz is. Kind of just very brief stuff so that there isn't much to theorize, but we just know that he's out there. He's the one that's kind of dictating what time periods the team is being sent to stop the Chronicoms. But wherever he is, he's very exposed, and if the Chronicoms knew where he was, it'd be very easy for them to just find him and kill him. So that's why he's not with the rest of the team. But besides that, we don't actually know, like, where he's, like, is he in the equivalent of maybe the Vanishing Point from Legends of Tomorrow? That'd be pretty interesting. Or is it somewhere else we've seen in the show before? Maybe he's hiding out in the past of one of the seasons, like he could be hiding in, I don't know, on the bus, maybe, from like Season 2 era. Something wacky or crazy like that could be where he is. But we kind of had a rumor that he'd only be in 2 episodes a season, and the more we see of this season and the deeper we get into the season, it's kind of seeming more and more likely that that 2 episode rumor could be true. I really hope it's not, but honestly, I don't see how else this is going to go. Like, I don't see how he could fit in really where the season's going. It's disappointing because Ian DeCascador is an amazing actor, does an amazing job of Fitz, and Fitz is an amazing character, but it just is a little bit disappointing, I guess, that the show isn't utilizing him. I know that they couldn't really, because the actor, he'd made prior engagements and he had to go film other stuff. But I also just feel like maybe the show could have done a little bit of a better job kind of adapting to that. And, you know, like the episode Adapt or Die, they could have adapted and maybe found a way to have him in the season. I think that Season 6, for example, they just filmed a lot of Fitz's stuff separately and added it in later. They could have easily done that with this season. They could have just filmed a bunch of stuff for him and have a little bit of Fitz in every episode. The 100, surprisingly enough, is kind of doing something similar with Bellamy. Bob Morley also asked to step away from the show for the final season. Well, that's not what Ian asked for, but Bob Morley just asked to step away from the show for the final season. But he's still showing up here and there, and even though he's probably going to end up having about the same screen time in the 100's final season as Fitz will, he's actually appeared here or there throughout the season, just not in very big or substantial ways. I kind of would prefer that for Fitz, that he just shows up here and there rather than nothing and then he's there at the ending. You know, there's a lot of characters I want to see return, like Ward, Mace, Trip, Peggy Carter, Hunter, Bobbi. So many characters I want to see return, and it's seeming like none of them are likely. I mean, it's possible we could see younger versions of these characters just played by new actors or something like that, but in terms of seeing the versions of the characters we know, like seeing Brett Dalton play Ward, seeing Adriana Palicki play Bobby Morse, seeing this kind of stuff is becoming more and more unlikely, which is a little bit disappointing, but I get it. They kind of had to film this season pretty quickly with season 6, so... Well, the season is doing a great job at telling its own story. Like, it's not relying on nostalgia, it's not relying on showing old characters and sets, it's not relying on being a trip down Agents of S.H.I.E.L.'s memory lane, which is really impressive. It's something that a lot of shows kind of fall into the pit of in their final season, is that they end up doing more about showing the show's past and just bringing back characters and actually telling a good story. Like, as much as I love Arrow's final season, it definitely had this kind of pattern to it where it was more about who's going to show up this episode than this is a great story they're telling. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is doing the opposite. We've kind of come to, if we're seeing another character who we know, we've kind of come to expect it's going to be played by somebody we're not going to recognize, and then the story is going to be right rather than the other way around, or we see a character we remember and the story just doesn't really live up to that. So in one hand they're doing a good job, but in the other hand I still wish that we would have seen a lot more characters. Now, that's not to say we're not going to see them in the final episodes, just the information we have is kind of implying that we're not going to get that. One thing I also hope is that the next episode, which is episode 7, I really want to be on par with season 3's 4,722 hours, or season 6's Inescapable, or season 5's Rewind, where it's kind of an episode focused on a few characters, which those characters would be Deke and Mac, and it tells an amazing story with them. Because when S.H.I.E.L.D. does an episode that focuses on lesser characters and really does give them a good story, they end up becoming some of the best episodes of the show, and I really think that the next episode does have the potential to be one of those episodes. But there's a bunch of other stuff I really want to see in the next episodes, but that's kind of just the main things I want to see. I guess, to kind of break them down to just more Fitz, or at least Fitz outside of the final 2 episodes, and I would like to see characters show up from prior seasons, even though that's pretty unlikely at this point, and also just one of those bottle episodes to kind of give those 2 characters a little bit of development before the season ends. But what do you want to see? Is there anything you really want to see? Do you agree with what I said, or do you disagree with what I said? And if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and all of that, and I hope you have an amazing day.